Hello everybody, it's Mike Levin. I think the November 23rd, Monday morning. I think I have the date right anyway. It's the week of Thanksgiving, and I just came out of the subway stop, and you can see there through the mist maybe a little bit the Empire State Building. That will be my new office up there on the 65th floor, starting the first Monday after Thanksgiving weekend. I guess that's November 30th. And I'll be the director of SEO. One of them at a company named Acronym, one of the last of the independent, decently large, primarily search marketing companies that hasn't been gobbled up by one of the many holding companies out there in marketing, like WPP or IPG and Dentsu. So I look forward to that. It's almost like a dream doing what I love to do, that I developed actually on a Commodore computer spin-off company called Scala in the suburbs of Philly, where there were only a handful of really high-tech companies there, and even fewer that were worth working for. But I ended up with Commodore, which sort of crumbled apart, and by the time I was entering the professional work field, there was nothing left of Commodore to go to work for. So I went where it was familiar, my favorite software company and Commodore spin-off, Scala Multimedia, these days Scala Digital Signage, where I developed a lot of the long-tail marketing techniques to feed lots and lots of sales lead fodder into a sales pipeline for inside sales departments to work and qualify and sort of, shall we say, weed out the Yahoos, because a lot of them had Yahoo email addresses, and separate the wheat from the chaff and get a really healthy sales pipeline going. And that's where I made my start in the field of SEO. But the interesting connection here is that the two other high-tech employers in the area were Unisys in the Bluebell area and SAP sort of on the main line, I guess from my perspective, halfway out from Philly to Commodore, which was kind of my daily commute. So I knew of SAP, and there was a lot of cross-fertilization between the Commodore people and the SAP people. In other words, a lot of the Commodore people went to work for SAP. And I knew some consultants from, I guess it was back then, Anderson Consulting. These days it's Accenture. And I knew, actually, in a little stint when I left Scala and then came back, I went to work for a company called Profit21, which made both Unix distribution software called Acclaim and Microsoft.NET. It was the new software that they just developed. I forget what it was called, but now it's been relabeled as Profit21 under Epicor. And it was rolled up prior to that into a company called Activant, so it went Profit21, Activant, Epicor. And I've been following this along with all of the sort of evolution of the enterprise resource planning software, ERP, and the crises, I guess it's kind of gone through, with the rise of things like the Amazon Elastic Computing Cloud and the whole build it now mentality, and the maturation of platforms like .NET and Java to be completely entrusted with enterprise class applications that always has the potential of shutting out some large business services / usually has a database company from the picture, like the Back in those days with Profit 21, it was taught to me that these companies were called the BOPs, Bon, Oracle, PeopleSoft, and SAP, and occasionally the JBOPs, because there was another company, J.E. Edwards, I think, that had software like this. Well, anyway, this is all now ancient history, and all these companies have had to completely reinvent themselves around the web, most obviously, but also around mobile and the iPhone, the changes wrought by the iPhone. And so, let's see. So I've always been a fan of this. I actually know these things. In SEO, in the field I'm in, I'm often fairly effective because I can launch into the discussion of Endeca, one of these database indexing products that was bought by Oracle and is now part of the main e-commerce offerings from the machine that is Oracle. And it can do a feature called faceted search, and it's what's chosen by a lot of e-commerce enterprise class sites like JCPenney. I was the guy who helped get JCPenney out of their legendary penalty they incurred from Google by buying links, and some writer outed it in an article. And my company had been warning JCPenney for a while that this would happen and that they had to stop the practice, but they didn't. So when the penalty hit, they turned to the company I was with at the time, 360i, and I was one of the principals on the team that came up with a strategy and followed through on it to get JCPenney back where it was in search prior to this ban or this penalty. And so that was the Endeca software, and it's used on tons of sites like that, but it has a alternative, or I guess an equivalent in the free and open source world, which is called the Leucine Stack under the Apache Foundation. And it has a bunch of components to it, like an indexing component. That's Leucine itself. It used to be the Nutch product for spidering sites. A lot of these names have been retired and just rolled in, and the ones that are remaining are now Solar, which is a faceted search piece, and an alternative called Elasticsearch, which, while I don't think is part of the official Leucine Stack, is what a lot of sites are moving to these days. So I can jump into these discussions and say it's mostly a proprietary choice, i.e. Endeca, versus the open source choice, i.e. Leucine / Elastic, or Elasticsearch. And it's always bugged me that there had to be other vendors in this, and I would occasionally research it and see what Microsoft was offering, and that there was this product called Hybris that did this also, and now Hybris is part of SAP. And so now a big part of my world is to understand, I believe, this is what I'm deciding, the many ways it's a SEO advantage to be on Hybris when configured well with an awesome implementation, and many, many more things like this. In other words, I'm an SEO who is like almost perfectly keyed for the opportunity to be the SEO for an enterprise class software company, the one that has the database and all the supporting ecosystem to get big implementations done that scale. What used to be the ERP industry, but is now something very new, very hybrid, very friendly towards the cloud, but keeping an open mind about local installs on private clouds as well. This is a big part of the future of computing, especially as people realize they don't necessarily need data centers if they want to keep it all private in-house. And encrypted communication between multiple sites, all that. Every custom concept for how to put this all together to keep control in those places you need it, yet to leverage things on the cloud for ease of implementation, offloading certain workloads that you don't want on your own local hardware or other expensive service sources, and you can just basically knit anything together you can imagine. But not everyone can do that. It's not like every company's in-house tech department has those capabilities. So there is a third party involved. Usually something like, they've had different names over the years. When I was with Scala, they were known as value-added resellers or VARs, custom integrators, custom solution providers. I've heard the whole gambit. But any way you slice it, these wonderful large, rarely go down, highly robust faceted search sites are the results of a collaboration between the company who needs it, i.e. the name you usually see on the site, who the vendor is, who the e-commerce site is, plus a technology platform company, and then a custom solution provider to knit it together to be exactly what is necessary for the the big customer in the picture, the e-commerce site. And that's the world I'm about to get into. That's the world I've been sort of a armchair pundit for many, many years on, following the developments based on the unusual circumstances of my youth being tied into this bizarre local Philadelphia suburban tech circle. So anyway, I rambled on long enough. I'm here at Flying Point Digital, and I will see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe.